last Saturday's game, go through some goods and bads, and then talk about next week's opponent questions. Obviously, we're on a streak that we've got to get stopped. We've lost 4 in a row, and disappointed in it. You know, in the last few weeks, it's gone from disappointment to frustration to, you know, this last Saturday evaluating the game to a little bit of disbelief with some of the issues that we've had in the game that have prevented us from winning games. You know, I've mentioned this before, but we won't win games around here until we have the mental discipline and toughness to execute our calls with great effort, great fundamentals, and play within the system and play within the call that's been made. You know, for us, you know, the margin for error is very, very small, and you know, your success or failures lie in the details of what you do and in everything you do. Those details matter in your ability to be successful and win games, or not being successful. And we've got to clean up the details, and we've been trying to do that over the last few weeks, but we're not there yet. Obviously, with the results that we're having. You know, in my opinion, each coach has got to coach it better, each player's got to play it better, and we've got to work together as a program to continue to try to clean things up on game day. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, our weeks of preparation have been good, and some of the things that happen on game day based off of what we've seen in practice, again, is a little bit disbelief right now. Just some goods from the game. Like I said, after the game, our second half effort and execution was a lot better. We got a shutout in the second half. We ended up getting 2 takeaways, one at the end there on a fumble and the interception with Damon Hayes. Our special teams continues to improve. I think our coverage units are playing well. Right now, I think we had the best net punt in a game that we've had so far this year. Adam's doing a great job with his placements. The kickoff return unit was probably the best that we've performed, you know, in a while. That has not been a very productive unit for us, and I think we're blocking things up, and with Isaiah back there, he's running the ball hard, and we had some production, some bigger returns. And then the 52-yard field goal obviously was a high point for Justin's career so far. Talked about the pass game a little bit. We're still nowhere near where we need to be, but we did make some improvements, small improvements. Saturday we got more people involved in the pass game than what we've had in the past. Some bads, again, it's the mental errors and penalties. The opening drive defensively is one that obviously we can't have happen, but it's a direct result of penalties and mental errors. We had 2 penalties on 3rd downs, and one of them we had a sack on the play, and we got called for holding on a running back. You know, again, it's to me, when you have penalties like that, it's one of 3 things: either a lack of focus, a lack of fundamentals, or just a poor choice. And we've got to get those 3 things taken care of to stop beating ourselves with the penalties. 3rd down is an issue right now. We've worked a lot of 3rd down. We always do, all the way back to training or spring practice and training camp. We do it each week. We're not getting the production on 3rd down that we need. A lot of it has to stem from, you know, offensively, we're in too many 3rd and longs. We've got to do a better job on 1st and 2nd down to get into more manageable 3rd downs. We're allowing guys to pressure us a lot because of that, and we're having issues with our pass protection with some different pressures. Defensively, we've got to get off the field. We had a lot of opportunities to stop drives and keep points from being put on the board Saturday in the 3rd down issues. Again, like I mentioned with the opening drive, but there were several others where it'd be, you know, not having the quarterback contain a lot of pressure, our zone drop, somebody not dropping to the right area, you know, or just not being able to get to the quarterback. There are a lot of things that caused us to be poor on 3rd down Saturday. But we got to get it cleaned up, and we'll continue to work and strive to get that done. Again, we had practice yesterday. Our players showed up. We watched the film. We looked at the goods and the bads. We went out and we had what I think was a pretty good focused practice, just like we did last Sunday. But we made changes to the practice schedule last week to try to help us in some certain areas. We made some changes to our routine a little bit, but I've told the guys all along, just changing the practice schedule or changing the routine isn't going to guarantee different results necessarily. We were in a more competitive game, a game I felt like we had an opportunity to win, just didn't play clean enough and make the plays that were there when needed. This week's another opportunity to do exactly what we wanted to do this last week. We've got Illinois coming to town. They're a much improved football team. They're coming off a bye week, so there's a lot of unknowns about a football team coming off a bye week. But I think they, again, Levy Smith's done a great job. They're a much improved football team. They got a bunch of young players playing also, and it's going to be another great challenge for us. So with that, I'll go ahead and open up for questions.
I think this might be the first week where we're not pressing you on the quarterback as much, but I'm assuming that's not an evaluation.
No, obviously we played a little bit better this last week compared to what we had the two previous weeks. We evaluated everything, offensively, personnel-wise, and quarterback position, and we feel right now that that's our best option.
What are some of the things that Art can build on, from that you saw that you think that you can build on and maybe continue to progress at?
Well, like I mentioned Saturday, I think Art's improved a ton in the first 5 games. He hasn't had a perfect game or a great game, so to speak, yet. Consistency is going to be something he's got to get better at. One throws a great throw and another one's off the mark. That's part of football, but he's got to get better at that. We haven't hit some of the deep shots that we want. Saturday we had some guys open and behind Indiana's defenders, and we couldn't hit them. We need to be able to complete those balls. And going through his reads still, going through the progressions and doing it quickly and making a decision of where he needs to go with the ball. Those things all will continue to improve as he continues to go along.
What did you think of the game that John McNulty called, and how improved is the rapport between John and Art? Just John learning his nuances and what works and what doesn't.
I think John calls a very good game, and I think the rapport between John and Art has been great. Calling the game does start with the quarterback and what he's comfortable with and what he can do, but there are a lot of other factors that go into it. What can the O-line do? Who do we have to get the ball to? But I think John is doing a great job trying to be creative and working with the personnel that we have. And as he gets more comfortable with that and increasing the volume of things that we can do, you're going to see more and more diversity with what we do on offense.
In terms of the offensive line, what's your assessment of that? And is there any areas that stand out, good or bad?
Offensive line's not playing where I want it to play. I mean, it's as simple as that. They know it, I know it, we all know it. We want this to be a line of scrimmage football team where we play well on the offense and defensive lines, where we can run the ball, stop the run, protect the quarterback, get after the quarterback. And on both sides of the ball, right now up front, we're not playing the way we need to. We're having too many mental errors in protection. Some of our fundamentals have to get cleaned up in the run game for us to run the ball more consistently, but none of us here in the program are happy with where we're at on either side of the ball up front.
I guess along those same lines, are you surprised about how much you guys have struggled in the run games, both on offense and defense? It seems like it's been a major weak spot so far.
Yeah. I mean, anytime you go into the season, you want to be able to run the ball and stop the run. And if you can't do it, you're surprised by it. If you didn't start the season saying, well, hey, we're not going to be able to run the ball, can't stop the run, you're going to have a lot of fun. But we've got to improve that. We want to be able to run the ball. We've got to be able to stop the run. Part of stopping the run isn't just the D-line, though. We've got to fit well. We've got to tackle better. We've got to pursue better. We've got to get off blocks better. We've got to make sure we leverage better. There's a lot that goes into stopping the run, more so than just the D-line. Do we have to play better on the D-line to be more gap sound and have good gap integrity and get off blocks? Absolutely. But we've got to fit at linebacker better. We've got to fit in the secondary better. We've got to tackle better.
Art said on Saturday post-game that he felt like things were slowing down for him after 4 games and that things were getting easier. When you watch him in practice or even on film, would you agree that he's starting to look more comfortable and that things are slowing down?
Yeah, absolutely. I made this analogy about driving a car. When he drives a car for the first time on the back roads, it's pretty easy to get on the freeway. It's not so easy. Things are moving fast, and there's a lot of obstacles, and practice and games are no different for him. He has been fairly confident in practices. That's why he's been named the starter. In games, it's got to slow down, and it is starting to slow down. The more reps he gets, the more he plays, the more it slows down. You can see his comfort level starting to rise. And I think everybody, offensively can feel it and see it, and it will make a difference as we go forward. You do something, 100 times versus 1,000 times, you're going to get a lot more comfortable with it, and that's really, Art needs 1,000 reps, and when we get to that point, he'll be a lot more comfortable.
I know you evaluate everything, but my question is about the usage of timeouts. You have 1 timeout with 4 minutes to go in the game on that final drive, and are you okay with that? Just the way that you use the timeouts. I think it was a 4th and 9 where Indiana looked like they might go for a field goal, and they were going for it instead, and then Art on a 3rd and 16. If he doesn't call a timeout, maybe boosts you out of field goal range. But I guess my question is, you consider a timeout. Are you okay with that? And are timeouts more of an asset in your mind? Do you need to have more than one timeout going to that final drive?
Well, I mean, the situation in the game dictates a lot of it. There are certain situations that come up in a game where you'd be more comfortable with a delay of game than taking a timeout. There's certain times that you would not. So there's all kinds of different situations that come up. There's some things that happen on game day that need to be done cleaner, that force you to take a timeout so you don't lose yardage. At the end of the game, every coach would like to have all of his timeouts available, but as you go through the game, there are situations that come up that you have to use them. That's why they're there. But if it's because of a personnel issue or substitution issue or miscommunication, those are the ones that frustrate you, that you have to basically waste them on things like that you can avoid. If there are things that come up in a game, on a 4th down situation, sometimes you want to have more time to think about your call, and also maybe let the opponent have more time to think about what they're actually going to do, and they may change their mind. Those are strategic timeouts that you take. That's playing the game. It's the ones that you feel like you wasted because of some reason that frustrate you.
We'll take 2 more questions.
Coach, you mentioned tackling was an issue and also mentioned the change in routine in practice a little bit. Is there anything different you do in practice to improve tackling? Do you do any different drills or other stuff to improve, make sure missed tackles don't happen on Saturdays?
Well, I've been doing this a long time. I've never been in a game where there's been no missed tackles on a Saturday. It doesn't matter to the level. We tackle as much as we possibly can here in the program, and that's all year-round within the NCAA rules. Tuesday is a day where we get live tackling in, and I've just done that for a long time, and we do that here. A lot of the fundamentals that we need to improve on, again, come with just game reps, because when you're tackling live, in practice, you're not going to tackle the ones on the offense, because you can't get anybody hurt. So, you're usually tackling guys on the look squad, and they're not playing at the same speed that the opponent is. Saturday we had a couple missed tackles against their running back. Well, the running back's 230 pounds. Those tackles are very difficult for a defensive back to make at times. So a lot of tackling comes down to not only fundamentals, but comes down to pursuit also. But there's nothing that we could do differently in practice to emphasize tackling more. We do it all the time in everything that we do, whether it's, again, a live tackle or just pursuit, or just how we finish in a good football position.
Almost in mid-season, are you pleased with how you guys are using Blackshear? Does he need more touches, fewer touches? About right? Where do you think your usage of him?
We need a lot of people on offense to get touches, and Blackshear's being one of them. I think we've tried hard to get Blackshear touches, but if he's the only one touching the ball and having production, we're going to have some struggles on offense. I think we've really tried hard to identify other guys that can make plays for us. I think you saw that Saturday, by some of the receivers that have gotten touches. We've targeted the tight ends more here recently. So it's not a one-man show. We've got to have multiple people, and I'm perfectly fine with what we've done with Blackshear, but we need to get other guys involved more. And again, we're trying to do that, and it's easier said than done.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks, guys.